Can you beat a Pokemon Nuzlocke using only Pokemon species that begin with the letter F? Well, in Pokemon SoulSilver, there are 7 possible encounters using this rule set. That means I need to play almost flawlessly in order to have a real shot. And flawlessly is it's not my strong suit, but we will give it a shot anyway. I'll be playing with Hardcore Nuzlocke rules, which basically means I'm not allowed to have fun. Additionally, I can only catch a Pokemon if its species name starts with F or it evolves into one that does. If a Pokemon's further evolutions don't start with the letter F, I can't evolve it. And for my encounters, I can re-roll until I get a unique F Pokemon. This is a quick Nuzlocke using only F Pokemon. I name myself F and enter the amazing world of Johto, where we get a bunch of new baby Pokemon and also cool Pokemon with the stats of baby Pokemon. I select my starting Pokemon, Totodile, who evolves into Feraligatr. I name this little guy Florida, and he has a neutral nature. Feraligatr is a physical attacker, which works because in Heart Gold and SoulSilver, water moves can now be physical or special. We get some Gen 1 nostalgia within the first 5 minutes of the game, defeat the edgiest person on the planet, and can finally kick the Nuzlocke off. In this challenge, we actually get a lot of our encounters early on. The first one is only a few steps away, and that would be Sentret, who evolves into Furret. I catch him and name him Fleet Fox. Sentret and Furret are cute, but they are terrible Pokemon. And with a mild nature that increases special attack and lowers defense, this thing is even worse. I enter Violet City and find a man who asks me to whisper sweet nothings into his ear. Stall job. Sniper item. He gives me a Mareep egg, who evolves into Flaaffy. I beat Elder Lee in the Sprout Tower, and oh my god, his name is Elderly. I just got that. Mareep hatched out of the egg, and I named him Fleece. He has a neutral nature as well. With Fleece on the team, Falkner is really easy. 1 Thundershock takes out the Pidgey, and 2 Thundershocks take out the Pidgeotto. At level 15, Fleet Fox evolves into his final evolution. If a Pokemon evolves that early, it's pretty bad. Next, I can catch a Spearow, who evolves into Furo. I catch her and name her Feathers. Feathers has a modest nature, which increases special attack and lowers attack, which is perfectly awful for it. Next, we take on Bugsy, who I always forget sends the Scyther out first. Hey, Bulbapedia, can you update your freaking walkthrough, please? I decide to keep Feathers in since she does pretty good damage with Aerial Ace. I go for a Fury attack to try to avoid the Citrus Berry, but Scyther's focus energy pays off immediately as it gets a crit quick attack. Feathers, you weren't on the team long, but we had some beautiful memories together, like when that Scyther absolutely wrecked you. Ah, sweet memories. A newly evolved Fleece gets its defense lowered, but then can't quite knock out Scyther. Quick Attack does just under half damage, but also procs static, and then Fleece gets lucky by landing a crit Thundershock. Both Metapod and Kakuna are no problem for Fleece, so thanks to a bit of luck, we have our second badge. We're down a team member now, but we have no problem taking out our rival, and Florida evolves into his awkward puberty stage. In the Ilex Forest, I teach Headbutt to some of my team members, and make it to Goldenrod City so we can get some very early Ultra Balls. Now I can start headbutting some trees, in search of one that gives me a Pineco, who evolves into Fortress. I named it Fur Poop? I don't know, I struggled with this one. Careful Nature raises special defense and lowers special attack, which is okay. In preparation for the 3rd gym, I bought TM52, which contains Focus Blast. Focus Blast is a rare special fighting move, and it's really useful against the 3rd gym because it's super effective, and it avoids the high defenses of a lot of the Pokemon. I do only have 1 Pokemon that can learn it though, and his special attack is fine, I guess. Now it's time to take on Whitney and her normies. The goal here is to set up Fleet Fox on Clefairy so that it'll be stronger for Miltank. My method to do this is using Defense Curl, which Clefairy promptly steals. I go for a Focus Blast to knock down some health, but it misses, so I go back to Defense Curling a bit. I'm at +3 defense now, so I go for a Focus Blast, which does good damage to Clefairy, and Clefairy can't do much damage to me. Whitney heals up, and I go back to Defense Curling a bit. I get up to +5 defense as Clefairy uses Metronome. It finds Psycho Boost, the signature move of Deoxys. Ouch. Focus Blast misses again, and is Clefairy doing better than me? Calm Mind makes it so even Focus Blast won't kill here. Now Fleet Fox is in love with Clefairy and won't attack it, and Clefairy uses Aeroblast, which crits and kills me. Florida knocks Clefairy out, but we still have a whole Miltank to deal with. Miltank outspeeds me, and its moves do more damage than mine. Since it outspeeds, it can also flinch me. I switch Florida out for Furpoop, but Miltank is too strong and knocks out both Furpoop and Florida. Attempt 1 is attempt done. On attempt 2, my rival Chikorita got a crit against me, so that was the quickest Nuzlocke. On attempt 3, I realized I could get Wild Mareep instead of getting the egg. No running back and forth for this guy anymore. I also realized that on the first time through, I missed a very important item, the Shell Bell. Now against Bugsy, I know that Scyther comes out first, so I send out Fleece. I don't want to bank on static luck, so I go for a Thunder Wave as Scyther lowers my defense. Now I'm faster, and Thundershock does a little under half, and Scyther gets fully paralyzed. Thundershock doesn't kill, but after the Citrus Berry, one more Thundershock looks like a range to kill, and Scyther uses Focus Energy. Unfortunately, Thundershock doesn't kill, and Scyther U-turns out. Against Metapod, I switch in Feathers, who can take it out after Bugsy heals up. Scyther comes out again, but because Bugsy used a potion on Metapod, she doesn't use one on Scyther. So Feathers tanks a quick attack and knocks Scyther out with an Aerial Ace. Against Kakuna, I switch in Florida, who can take it out with a few water guns. This time, we got a Deathless second badge. Time to take on Whitney again, and this time, I give Fleet Fox the Shell Bell. This Furret also doesn't have a plus special attack nature, which overall is good, but will make Focus Blast way weaker. Because of this, Headbutt is a great option here, because it does a lot of damage and can also cause a flinch. Now I start my setup, doing Defense Curl and taking nothing from Clefairy. Clefairy is using Metronome, which is scary, but it's finding moves that either don't work or are physical. After getting to +3 defense, I knock Clefairy out with almost full health thanks to the Shell Bell. I start using Headbutt, and Miltank's attacks are nerfed because of my plus defense. A second Headbutt puts Miltank in a range where Focus Blast may kill, so I go for it, but it hangs on. This kicks off an incredibly long back and forth where Miltank uses Milk Drink and I use Headbutt. Milk Drink gives back more than Headbutt takes away, so every once in a while Miltank does attack me. Critical hits go through stat buffs, so if Miltank gets a crit, it will do a lot of damage. Luckily, she isn't getting any crits though. Eventually, I run out of Headbutts, so I have to start using Focus Blast and Quick Attack. It also seems like Miltank is out of Milk Drink now, but Whitney still has potions to use. One more Quick Attack should put Miltank squarely in Focus Blast range, and that's exactly when Miltank lands a crit stomp to knock out Fleet Fox. Whitney heals Miltank up, and the rest of my team is extremely vulnerable to Miltank's attacks. Feathers and Furpoop go down to Miltank, and Fleece comes out and finally ends the battle. I did win the battle, but with 3 of my 7 encounters dead, the smartest option is to start over. On attempt 4 against Whitney, I got Fleet Fox up to +2 defense before knocking out Clefairy, and against Miltank, I missed my first 2 Focus Blasts. On the third one, I was able to connect. I connected real good on that one. Bit of luck there, but we are successfully past the third gym. Feathers evolved into Fearow, and by doing a bit of traveling, I can get my next encounter, an Eevee from Bill. By using a Firestone, I can evolve Eevee into Flareon. So I name Eevee Fire. Flareon is a physical attacker, so a Jolly Nature that decreases special attack is good. I beat my rival in the Burn Tower and go to get my 7th and final encounter, Farfetch'd. I catch him and name him Foul Ball. Fourth, we have Morty and his spooky ghosties. First out is Ghastly, who Florida can knock out with 1 bite, even getting an unnecessary crit. Gengar comes out next, and I switch into Feathers to avoid damage from both Shadow Ball or Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch does minimal damage to me, and I can kill Gengar with 3 hits after its Citrus Berry. The Shell Bell adds some extra health after I land each hit. Because of this, I can knock Gengar out and stay relatively healthy. We have 2 Haunters left, but we can't quite OHKO them. But thanks to a clutch Hypnosis Miss, we're able to knock the first one out, and we're able to knock the second one out as it just goes for Mean Look. That was easy, but in the event things had gone wrong, I had another normal flying type in the back. After defeating Morty, Florida evolves into Feraligatr, and Furpoop evolves into Fortress. Next, we take on Chuck, who only has 2 Pokemon for some reason. And his first Pokemon, Primeape, gets outsped and 1-hit KO'd by Feathers. Next is Poliwrath, who's a little bit tougher. Feathers stays in to use Aerial Ace, which does over half damage, but the Citrus Berry will stop a 2-hit KO from being possible. Feathers is also always safe to surf from full health, but now Feathers is dead to crit. I do have other Pokemon with super effective moves like Fleece and Foul Ball, but switching them in would put me in a similar position to the one I'm in now. I could switch into these Pokemon by pivoting through Florida. He could easily take a Surf, and then I could switch to something else on a fighting move. However, there's not even a guarantee that Poliwrath would use Surf this turn. Ultimately, after weighing all these options, I decide to stay in and risk the crit. Feathers uses Aerial Ace, which leaves Poliwrath in the red, and Poliwrath does Surf, but doesn't crit. Chuck heals up, and I knock out Poliwrath with 2 Aerial Aces. That's the 5th badge. The next part of the game is a little challenging for a Hardcore Nuzlocke. The 6th gym leader, Jasmine, has a level 35 Pokemon, but the 7th gym leader, Price, has a level 34 Pokemon. So if I leveled everybody up for the 6th gym, they'd all be over-leveled for the 7th gym. The game also won't let you switch the order of the gyms around, as an NPC blocks you from continuing with the plot. So I go back to the Olivine gym with all my Pokemon 2 levels under the level cap. Jasmine has Steel-type Pokemon and sends out Magnemite first. My slow-ass Steel Pokemon outspeeds her slow-ass Steel Pokemon, and Furpoop one-hit KOs Magnemite with a Dig. Jasmine decides to send out her second Magnemite right after, so Furpoop does the same thing again. Last is Steelix, so I switch into Florida. Steelix goes for Screech, which lowers my defense by 2 stages. Thankfully, even at -2 defense, neither Iron Tail or Rock Throw will kill me with a crit. So I can safely use Surf, which does a good chunk of damage to Steelix, who just uses Sandstorm anyway. One more Surf and Steelix is knocked out, and we have our 6th badge. Now's probably a good time to talk about why you haven't seen me use Flareon yet. In this game, there are 2 ways to get a Firestone before defeating the Elite Four. The first is through the phone call mechanic, where trainers will call you for rematches or for other things. Sometimes these trainers will have items for you. There's a specific trainer on Route 36 who will sometimes give you a Firestone. After I beat him, I've been waiting for him to call me. He has not called me. They say that art imitates life, right? The only other way to get a Firestone is by doing Pokeathlon competitions. If you're unfamiliar with this aspect of the game, lucky you. Basically, you put your Pokemon through an Olympics-style competition where they do events such as hurdles, flag collecting, and like pushing each other off a platform or something. At the end of the competition, you get points based on how you did, and you can use those points to buy a number of different prizes. Eventually, I figured out that the strength competition is the most efficient one to do on Speed Up. For almost all of the events, you can just kind of click around on the screen, and you'll end up with a decent amount of points. I did this for way too long, but eventually got enough points to be able to afford a Firestone. I used the Firestone on Faya, and now we have a full team of F Pokemon. It was then that I ran into a very special Pokemon. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one either. I'm talking about this one. You may be thinking, why is this Pokemon special? Well, if you look closely, really closely, you'll see a slight discoloration in Meowth's feet and tail. Yep, it's shiny Meowth, which is, unfortunately, one of the shiny sprites that they let the boring Game Freak employee design. Make shiny Meowth blue, cowards! Unlike the last shiny I found, using Meowth is not allowed in my rule set as it starts with the letter M, so he lives in the box. Alright, it's finally time to take on Price and his ice Pokemon. Because of the confusing level cap thing, I accidentally over-leveled Florida, which is really unfortunate because he's a great option for this fight. We'll have to see what the rest of the team can do. Felice starts off with a Discharge, which knocks out Seal with 1 hit. Next is Piloswine, who can't be hit by electric moves. So I switch into Feathers on my correct assumption that Piloswine will use Mud Bomb. Then I switch into Flareon on what I assume will be a Blizzard. Knowing how to pivot is such an elite move if you play on set mode. Ember does a surprising amount of damage to Piloswine, and it misses a Mud Bomb. In an attempt to avoid the Citrus Berry proc, I use Quick Attack, which completely backfires on me. Piloswine lands a Mud Bomb this time, but I am perfectly safe, although my accuracy does get dropped. Now I'm dead to crit, so I switch out of Faya. Piloswine doesn't go for Mud Bomb though, and uses Hail. But I still have a safe switch into Furpoop, who isn't hurt much by Blizzard. Bug Bite unfortunately doesn't do much, and after the Mud Bomb, I'm now dead to crit, plus another accuracy drop. It's a bit of an awkward situation, but I decide to stay in and risk the crit. I go for a Bug Bite, which of course misses, but at least Piloswine doesn't get the crit. I absolutely have to switch out now, so I go to Fleet Fox, and Piloswine misses another Mud Bomb. Fleet Fox outspeeds and can kill Piloswine with one Surf. I stayed in one turn too long with Furpoop, but luckily the game didn't punish me for it. The hard part of the fight is over, but we still have to knock out Dugong. I'm free to switch back to Fleece as none of Price's Pokemon know water moves. I can still safely take one more hit from Dugong and knock it out with Discharge. I guess that's the price you pay. After training up the team, it's time to take on the final gym leader, Claire, and her dragon Pokemon. Gyarados is up first, so I send out Fleece. Intimidate doesn't affect him as a special attacker. Gyarados goes for a Bite, which procs Static. Paralysis would only matter if Fleece flinches, but he doesn't, and he's able to knock out Gyarados with one Discharge. Giving your Pokemon enough experience to level up during the fight is important, but here it's critical, because at level 42, Fleece learns Light Screen. This move is critical to my strategy, but we'll get to that later. Dragonair comes out next, so I switch into Florida. Florida takes a Dragon Pulse, and then outspeeds to hit an Ice Fang. Ice Fang actually crits, which is huge here. Claire's second Dragonair comes out, and I go for the same strategy. This time, I don't get a crit, and she goes for Thunder Wave. I shake Paralysis off with a Cherry Berry, though. I didn't give Florida the Nevermelt Ice, because I thought it still wouldn't kill Dragonair. In hindsight, that probably would have been the best play, as Ice Fang is very close to killing. Last is Claire's Kingdra, who might be the scariest Pokemon in the entire game. I would argue it's scarier than Whitney's Miltank, Bruno's Machamp, or even Lance's Dragonites. Kingdra only has one weakness to dragon moves, which aren't common, and it has solid stats across the board. Florida lives everything but a high roll crit, so I decide to stay in. Ice Fang does a little bit of damage, and Florida survives the Dragon Pulse. It's time to switch, so I go into Fleet Fox. Dragon Pulse will be a 2-hit KO, but there is a reason I switched into Fleet Fox, and it wasn't because he's strong. I have 7 Pokemon, so one of them won't be coming with me to the Elite Four. Before the fight, I determined that Furret was my worst option. So this Fox did one more Sucker Punch, and then got knocked out by Hydro Pump. I needed to sacrifice something to get Fleece into battle, as it's slower than Kingdra and can't take 2 hits. As I alluded to earlier in this fight, Fleece's purpose is to set up Light Screen. Now that Light Screen is up, I switch into Furpoop. Furpoop can take Dragon Pulses and Hydro Pumps with no problem. I get a helpful miss of Hydro Pump and go for Bug Bite specifically so I eat Kingdra's Citrus Berry. With a few more turns of Light Screen, I can sit back and take hits from Kingdra, but Kingdra misses a Hydro Pump and I hit a crit payback. That's the 8th badge, and we're on the way to the Elite Four. The Kimono Girls are always tough, but I'm able to take them out with no real risk. I murder an endangered species, and defeated my rival for the last time. It's time for the Elite Four, and with 6 alive team members, the whole gang is coming with. First up, we have Faya the Flareon. Jolly Nature decreases special attack, which is helpful, as Flareon has a mix of physical moves. It has pretty good stats all around. Next, we have Fleece the Flaaffy, who I can't evolve into Ampharos. Plus special defense and minus speed nature is pretty good, and Fleece has a mix of special attacks and Light Screen. Next is Foul Ball the Farfetch'd with a neutral nature. Farfetch'd is pretty weak, but the fact that it learns Swords Dance by level up could be really useful. Next is Furpoop the Fortress, who has an alright lonely nature. Plus attack is good, but minus defense is bad, as those are its best 2 stats by far. Furpoop knows a good mix of physical attacks as well as protect. Fifth, we have Florida, the Hasty Feraligatr. Plus speed minus defense is pretty good, and Florida is pretty strong across the board. With a good mix of physical attacks, Florida is going to be a leader of this team. And finally, we have Feathers, the neutral-natured Fearow. Feathers is fast and really strong, and can stall with Roost. The team is healed, trained, and itemed up, and we're ready for the Elite Four. First up, we have Will and his Psychic-type Pokemon. He sends Xatu out first, so I send out Faya. I gave Faya the black glasses for this fight, so he outspeeds and one-hit KOs Xatu with Bite. Next is Slowbro, but I want to keep Faya healthy, so I'm going to switch. I want to get Fleece in, but Slowbro's Psychic and Water Pulse do similar damage to Fleece, so there's no point in pivoting. Slowbro goes for Amnesia, which is the worst case scenario here. With the choice specs, Fleece could have one-hit KO'd with Discharge, but because of Slowbro's special defense buff, now it won't. But Fleece still lives any hit from Slowbro, so I go for Discharge. It does about 75% damage, and Slowbro goes for Curse, which is great as it affects nothing. So, one more Discharge knocks out Slowbro. Will sends out Jinx, so I switch into Furpoop, who can take all of Jinx's hits with no problem. The real reason to send Furpoop out, though, is to bait a Lovely Kiss. Now that Furpoop is asleep, Jinx won't use a Lovely Kiss next turn. That means I can send out Faya without it getting put to sleep. I needed to give Faya the black glasses instead of a Chesto Berry so it hit some ranges. By ensuring that Faya is awake, I can use Fire Fang to knock Jinx out in one hit. Executor comes out next, and Fire Fang unfortunately doesn't hit the range to kill. It uses Reflect, which kinda messes up all my plans. Will heals up, and I decide to still go for Fire Fang. And with Reflect up, that does just under half damage. But I get an absolutely clutch burn. Now I can guarantee that Fire Fang will be a 2-hit KO, and I knock Executor out. Last we have Xatu, and because of Reflect, Bite may not be a 2-hit KO. Xatu also goes for Confuse Ray, which puts me in a really awkward position. So I switch to Florida, who can handle all of Xatu's attacks. And it's just in time for Reflect to wear off. Because of this, Florida can do the rest of the damage using Ice Fang, and we've defeated the first Elite Four member. Next up we have Koga, who really filled out his LinkedIn profile since we ran into him last. Koga uses poison Pokemon, so he sends out Ariados first, and I send out Faya. Switching Faya's item to a Charcoal, one Fire Fang is enough to take out Ariados. Next out is Fortress, who Faya can also outspeed and Oko. Third we have Muck. Faya can 2-hit KO Muck and never dies to any of his attacks, so I decide to stay in. But Faya decides to bypass all that and lands a crit on Muck. Next we have Crobat, so I switch into Choice Specs Fleece, and Crobat goes for a double team to heighten his evasiveness. Crobat goes for the same thing again, and understandably, Fleece misses his Discharge. We get one more turn where the exact same thing happens, and then Crobat goes for a Poison Fang, which crits. However, Fleece is finally able to land his Discharge, and it knocks Crobat out. Finally, we get Venomoth. Fleece probably could have taken Venomoth itself, but to play it super extra safe, I switch into Faya, who handles anything from Venomoth with ease. A Charcoal boosted Fire Fang is enough to knock out Venomoth, and we've defeated the second Elite Four member. Despite having an Onix on his team, Bruno is actually pretty tough, although to be fair, it's really just Machamp that's tough. He sends Hitmontop out first, and I send out Feathers. Bruno knows Hitmontop is about to die, so he uses Quick Attack to do something, and Feathers uses Drill Peck to knock out Hitmontop. Next out is Hitmonchan, and thanks to the sharp beak, Feathers can also one-hit KO Hitmonchan. Onix comes out next, which means Feathers is susceptible to rock moves. So I switch into Florida, although Onix just goes for Sandstorm. Florida uses Waterfall, which handily takes out Onix. Next out is Machamp, who is by far the scariest part of this fight. Feathers has a good chance of one-hit KOing Machamp, but he knows Rock Slide, which would definitely kill Feathers. Because I don't know what move he'll use against Florida, I can't switch into Feathers. I decide to stay in since Waterfall does a decent amount of damage to Machamp. However, I didn't realize that Cross Chop would definitely kill me if it crit, but thankfully it didn't. Because of the Citrus Berry, I can't guarantee a kill on Machamp. I'm now expecting a Cross Chop, so I have to switch into the one Pokemon who can take one, which is Furpoop. I go for a Protect for extra Sandstorm damage, but it ends after that turn. But then I go for a Dig. Huge mistake. I completely forgot that Machamp had the No Guard ability, which allows it to hit no matter what. So Furpoop is dead. At least, this does give me a safe switch into Feathers, who can knock out Machamp with one Drill Peck. Finally, it's Hitmonlee, who Feathers can one-hit KO with the Drill Peck. A careless mistake leads to a careless death, but we press on. Fourth, we take on Karen and her Dark-type Pokemon. She sends out Umbreon first, and I send out Florida. I taught Florida Focus Punch, assuming that Umbreon would go for Confuse Ray. Umbreon does go for Confuse Ray, and I'm able to shake it off with my Person Berry. Florida doesn't lose his focus and can knock out Umbreon in one hit with an unnecessary crit. Next is Vileplume, so I switch into Faya. Vileplume goes for a Stun Spore, which paralyzes me. I needed to have the Charcoal on Faya so it didn't have a Cherry Berry. Being slower is kinda awkward here, so it would have been much better to switch into someone else and have them get paralyzed. It's not a huge problem for Vileplume though, as Faya can take a Petal Dance with no problem and then knock it out in one hit with Fire Fang. Gengar comes out next. Faya can 2-hit KO Gengar, so I stay in, as it just uses Spite. And now I can take one more hit and then knock Gengar out. Here's where Paralysis makes things really awkward. Gengar knows Destiny Bond, a move that will knock both Pokemon out if one dies this turn. If Gengar uses Destiny Bond, my Fire Fang will kill Gengar and then kill me too. So I have to switch into something that's faster than Gengar, and it was a good thing that I did. However, Destiny Bond stays in effect until the Pokemon who uses it moves again. So since I'm faster than Gengar, Destiny Bond is still in effect. I can't attack, so I have to switch into something else, which is Fleece. I chose Fleece because it knows a non-attacking move in Light Screen. So Gengar knows he's faster, uses Destiny Bond, and I use Light Screen. Then I switch back to Florida, pray for no Destiny Bond, and Gengar uses Focus Blast, which actually misses. With no Destiny Bond, Florida can knock out Gengar with one Waterfall. A bit complicated there, but we made it work. From here, Karen sends out Murkrow, which Florida can take out with one Ice Fang. And finally, Houndoom, who Florida can take out with one Waterfall. We're on to the champion. Here we go, a champion fight with 5 F Pokemon. Lance sends out Gyarados, and I send out Fleece. My whole strategy revolves around being able to take a hit from Gyarados. So Gyarados launches a Waterfall and no crit. Fleece retaliates with a Discharge that knocks Gyarados out. Potential disaster number 1 avoided. Lance sends out Dragonite next, and it's his ace, the super strong one. This Dragonite knows Outrage, Fire Blast, and Hyper Beam, really strong moves. Any of these could be devastating. Since Fleece's usefulness is pretty limited from here on out, I decide to make the call to sack him. Now I know that Dragonite will use Outrage for one more turn, so I switch in Florida. Florida uses Ice Fang, which is a 2-hit KO even with the Citrus Berry. Florida is my only team member who can take an Outrage, and thankfully it doesn't crit. One more hit will kill, and Ice Fang misses. However, I am saved by a Self-Confusion hit, and then can knock out Dragonite with one Ice Fang. Oh boy, that was close. I still have 4 Pokemon to go, and Lance sends out his second Dragonite. I can't one-hit KO, and Dragonite sees a kill, so I switch into Faya. I get a helpful crit with Strength, as Dragonite goes for Thunder Wave to paralyze me. Based on the damage, it looks like one regular Strength won't kill, so I go for Quick Attack, and risk crit again, but it doesn't happen. I need a safe switch back to Florida, so Faya needs to get sacked here. I could go for a Quick Attack, but that would likely just cause Lance to heal next turn, which would be really bad. So I just sack Faya. This allows me to bring in Florida and kill with one Ice Fang. It's the 3rd Dragonite, and I have to employ the same strategy. Switch to something fast, don't get crit, do any amount of damage, die a heroic death, switch back to Florida, and knock out with Ice Fang. 5th is Aerodactyl, who Florida can knock out in one hit with Waterfall. However, Florida needs to outspeed it, and Aerodactyl is notoriously fast. Florida has a speed of 145, and my calcs have Aerodactyl speed at 144. By the slimmest of margins, Florida outspeeds Aerodactyl and OHKOs it with Waterfall. We're down to Lance's final Pokemon, Charizard. Waterfall is a range to kill Charizard here. Switching to Foul Ball to do a bit of damage isn't an option here, as Foul Ball is slow and can't take any 2 hits from Charizard. So I have to go for it and hope I hit the range. Waterfall goes up and it doesn't hit the range. Charizard goes for an Air Slash and he hangs on. Florida hangs on. Lance uses a full restore on Charizard, and this time Waterfall hits the range and we defeat the champion. We dodged at least 4 absolutely crucial crits, but we did it. Each Pokemon on this team had their moment to shine, except maybe Farfetch'd, with Florida and Faya coming in absolutely clutch in the Elite Four fights. I had a blast playing with this team and playing this game, even though the levels are completely screwed up. The aesthetic of Heart Gold and SoulSilver is really great. As always, thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like or a comment below. And if you're not already, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. I'm getting close to 10,000 subscribers, and it would be awesome to hit that milestone. Regardless, I appreciate you watching, and I'm looking forward to putting out some more awesome Nuzlocke runs. This has been a quick Nuzlocke using only F Pokemon. Thank you so much for watching.